she also feels similarly about coffee today.
Yeah.
He loved every single drop.
She loves her coffee too. But I have a strong suspicion that she drinks vastly less coffee.
I have a strong suspicion that everybody drinks vastly less coffee than you.
There's a few who do.
He's like, I'll take that. Why? I'm like,
That's basic. That's kind of. Wait, if you're gonna get a coffee out, what are you gonna get? 2 shots? What's that gonna do for you?
I mean, I do have like I have 2 like of these of coffee. I don't know if this is measurements.
I think it's the best measurement I've seen. Today's start.
It's a cup. It's a mug that's like big.
And what's your coffee preference?
I just drank it with a little bit of splash of some kind of alternative milk.
What? How do you prepare it?
My roommate has a really nice espresso machine.
Do you make espresso?
Well, you're supposed to, but I just let that run for a long time and fill up the mug, you know?
Okay, so it's a long pour espresso.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 of those, you know. And that's it.
We'll have that.
No, a little bit.
What's this?
A little,
A little alternative milk splash. A little bit hit of your favorite.
Well, milk or what?
oat milk, almond milk, flax milk.
What's your favorite non-milk milk?
Have you ever had yak milk?
Damn it, this is good podcast.
My friend had yak milk.
Yak milk?
She hiked Mount Everest, and I just think it was
Oh, okay. When you're Mount Everest, for sure, that would be the
Because
thing
it's
to
super
do.
and available. But yeah, also because of the high caloric value. It's like
I mean, when there.
Oh, yeah. You need every last calorie you got.
You know what I'm planning? I'm planning on doing this next time.
Are you really?
Fucking kidding me.
Okay.
I barely made it up that hill.
Let's say we're gonna have me Sherpa you
He's
up there.
like, I never say yes for yes.
No,
He's
no.
like, I got about a 3-minute walk.
Can
I
you,
did feel it.
can you tap the bottom of that microphone? Yeah, it's that.
We jumped fences.
Yeah. Red laws.
But it was great photo.
I was gonna say, my photography professor in college always used to say, you see all those signs that says no trespassing when you're holding a camera, it's like your free tickets to go do it. Like, just do it.
1,000,000% agree.
Yeah. So.
I couldn't believe it was so hard to get her to do it. I was like, what are you, a cop? No, I actually thought she might be a fed. She's like, oh, this is the fucking Navy land. This is the, I was like, no.
He wanted to jump
State
the
park.
fucking gate, the locked gate that says like only come by reservation. I'm like, okay, I'll jump with
That
this.
gate was so easy to jump onto a road.
I don't know if you noticed,
We
but
ended
it
up
was
jumping
also
a gate.
hella far away from where you wanted to shoot. Anyway, we did jump
We don't
fences
say.
and trespass, so you got what you wanted and the shot.
I did.
So
And it also proved to me that one of the biggest jobs you have as a photographer is just talking to the model and jumping.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But safe.
I don't think I needed that much convincing. I just wanted to make sure what we did it was safe and not totally auspicious. Like in a gate that's wide open for everybody to drive past. We found it secluded, much better option.
That was epic. That was super cool. No, but that to me actually that is like the mystery of photography. Oh, God, this is what stop
You
it.
should have your
Stop it.
You got your phone out. You can record this with your phone.
That is what I want to talk about. That whole search is so mysterious. Like,
It's okay, we got topics for days.
Yeah.
Yak milk
It is being
and no, I've never had yak
Oh,
milk, but
wonderful.
what?
This is being recorded.
Oh, I'll put my mic up. Sorry. I was like swinging it around. Go shit.
That was jacking up the sound too.
Okay. Me swinging it?
Yeah.
Just tell me next time. It's hard for me to stay still, and you want me to be the one that's holding it? That's something else.
Oh, I know. Like, don't make me do it. I had one job earlier,
You want to switch? All good.
which was
No, I'm already setting this up.
So, see, do you partake in edibles as well?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Are you?
We
What's
smoked
your
together.
tolerance level?
It's hard to say because it's been a minute since I've gone to a dispensary and got something that is measured, for
Yeah.
example. Like, the edibles that I have these days are like homemade from a homie, you know?
They're probably pretty strong.
But like, I want, like, yeah, like, I don't know what's strong.
Okay, so these are 10 milligrams per cookie, which is not that strong.
Exactly, yeah, okay.
But it depends because some people, one cookie, 10 milligram could be like smoking a joint.
For some people, it could be like paranoid town all
For sure.
day.
Exactly. Because it is.
Oh my gosh, right.
Yeah.
I would say one cookie, I would
I'll
say
eat two
1.5,
comfortably.
15, I would eat two
I will
comfortably.
eat two comfortably.
15 milligrams is like the minimum for like rolling through.
What are those?
These are 100 milligram cookies.
Is that what you eat to fall asleep?
No.
I mean, you have to break that into pieces.
Well,
You
like,
eat the
yeah,
whole
one-
thing.
Really?
For sure, but it,
At
just,
one sitting?
it depends on what you do.
Oh, I see.
For me to take down one of these suckers, I gotta be like about to work out, about to go on a hike, something active.
Oh no, that
No,
would
it's
put me to sleep.
Would if I was sitting down. Like
Oh.
but I'll do that sometimes too. Like I'm riding, I got like
Well, and if it's
3 out.
indica, I mean, if you're taking a 100 milligrams of indica, I would definitely say.
Oh yeah, I think the highest my tolerance ever got was like 45 to 50. 45 to 50.
I'm comfortable with 20 being like getting buzzed. I mean, I feel comfortable. And after that, it just gets too expensive.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's why I'm like,
You gotta
Well,
manage.
that-
You gotta manage
since
your
I've worked
tolerance.
for cannabis cookies, so.
For you.
But the beautiful thing about that is because I have so much access to cannabis, working with other brands as well, it kind of made me get to a point where it's like, well, you have to set your own limits. You know what I mean? Like once you have basically unlimited supply,
yeah.
you set your own limits. You know, it's like, okay, well, this is
Well,
what actually
and
works.
let's be real, they're cookies. So, I mean, you do not want to be eating a bag of cookies every day either. Like, it's.
I do. What are you talking about? No, that's no, but have you both ever heard of Brene Brown? She is somebody you should know about.
Okay.
She's
Tell me.
fucking awesome. She's a researcher, professor, Texan, and she wrote this trilogy of books that are great for artists to know about. The first one is called The Gift of Imperfections. It's all about how the things that you try to fix in yourself may actually be the things that are your best attributes.
Ah.
And that being yourself is the best thing that you can be. And a lot of times we see things about ourselves as imperfections. That's the basic story of that one. The next one is called Dare to Lead. Right?
Oh, I've heard of that one. I've heard of it.
It's all about taking risks and doing big things. And the third one is called Rising Strong. Because when you take big risks, you take big falls. And then you end up having to recover.
Yeah.
But a big part of what she talks about is the research of human psychology as it relates to the concept.
No, the pack's back. The pack's back.
That's
fine.
Oh my gosh. I'm so
Packs. Yeah. Intro.
Can you have?
What's up, folks? Here we are, locally lit in Monterey, downtown. This is the E&J Branding Podcast. I am not E, she is.
Thank you for that. I'm E, otherwise known as Erin Lyman of E and J Branding. This is the J. You're the J.
Aaron H. Lyman, J. Thomas. And today we have with us guest artist Sea Sevilla, visiting from a shock.
Who we mentioned last week and are fortunate to follow up with you this week.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, it all makes sense.
It's a good segue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we do it. We're following up, we're having some continuity, but we were just having a little conversation about edibles. Right?
Right.
And I was mentioning somebody that I wanted to mention on the podcast, Brene Brown, because to me, she just radically changed a lot of things about the way I view the world as far as emotional vulnerability. So she's a shame researcher. She writes about the way that people respond to shame and how many horrible problems develop because of the way that we process this projection of shame. Right? But so there was this period of my life where I was trying to figure some things out in my personal life. And part of the way I did that was I would go on these long hikes. I would take some heavy doses of edibles. I would listen to Brene Brown. I would go up into the forest up in Santa Cruz and Nice and Mars. This was a few years ago. And I would go out, I would eat maybe, these are 100 milligram. I would eat maybe 200 milligrams.
What?
And I would set out like maybe an hour before sunset.
Like tripping in the dark.
And I would go up to this point that's probably 3 hours out in the park.
Did you see baby Sasquatch?
Shoot.
So all
I
kinds of
sure
things.
did. No. I actually got lost in the park.
Oh, I mean, no doubt.
Let's believe you.
But, I mean, it's, because it is completely dark, but I know this park like the back of my head, right? But I would get so deep into listening to this woman and what she was talking about. And just,
A little spirit quest out there.
absolutely, that's exactly what it was. But
Like him.
because it was dark and I was moving, though, trying to get to this place, this Sandpoint Overlook that's pretty far out there, I would, the landscape around me, couldn't really see it that well, so I would have to sense it. But then it was like all of my fears, all of my emotions were kind of painting the darkness around me. And it was a vision quest, and I did it for maybe a month, and cried my eyes out in the darkness of the forest and figured out what was going on. And then got past it, and now I just.
We're not necessarily endorsing that people should ingest 200 milligrams at one time and then go out in the dark. But we're saying that it worked for you.
I'm not suggesting anything.
No, I'm just thinking.
I would just die.
You literally were just like, oh, what's your tolerance? And I'm like, I could eat 2 cookies.
20 milligrams is too
Comfortably, you're like, 200. I'm like, 200? I'd be asleep for 4 days, probably.
Well, that's the funny thing too, because when I would come back from these adventures,
Yeah.
I remember running into this dude who's a professional surfer, and he's like one of the gnarliest dudes in Santa Cruz in the Safeway, right? And he looked at me like, "What the fuck are you about, bro?" Because I'd just come out of the woods like late at night, and but for me it was such a really, really good thing to do. But
because we're listening to her, so let's circle back to why she's important. And
yes, but it's both. It's both. For me, I think that edibles are like a mild psychedelic, and for me, every once in a while, I like to go get a little wild and explore my psyche.
With edibles.
In the woods, with edibles, yes. But Brene Brown, somebody that everybody should know. She is anyone who's doing creative work can benefit from listening to Brene Brown 100%. So just wanted to put that out there at the beginning of the podcast because it's a resource that I have found to be incredibly useful. And so I want to share some of those as we go. Check her out, Brene Brown. Now, what else are we going to get into?
We're going to talk about where we are.
Exactly.
Because we're not in the place that we were last. venture here in Monterey.
A lot of things happening down here.
A lot of great things happening down here.
A
We
lot of
are,
entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, we just had a chat with Johnny Wicks, the candle maker, this morning. No, morning.
the shop podcast.
The shop cat, the shop cats 831.
Yes, we're here right downtown. Monterey has big, beautiful space. Kind of minimalist, a little bit like somewhat industrial. It's got the concrete floor, tall ceilings, black and white.
Mixed chairs.
It's minimal. It's nice and open, beautiful space.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it.
Right next to Paris Bakery.
I was telling them it smells good all day. It smells like bread and candles.
Beautiful. And then what's the restaurant on this side? Looks pretty good.
Sazon Express.
Yeah, how's that?
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
good. Yeah, we had lunch there actually today.
Nice.
And when we were painting that mural of Dali, we were there like every day.
What do you get there?
Headquarters.
What's your favorite thing there?
They used to have these. They used to have these bowls. They don't have them anymore. But those were my favorite. They just recently got all fancy. Not fancy, but their menus got fancy.
Oh, they rebranded a little bit?
I think they just upped it up a little bit. It's nice. Yeah, it's good. Check it out.
She's talking about murals. That's the Lene.
Yeah. That's
And also did the mural inside of
Papachanos.
Papachanos.
Right here, yeah.
From Alvarado.
I keep forgetting where we are. It's such a time capsule. I feel like all day it's been a haze here. If you're just driving in and out, I'd be like, oh right, right here.
Everything is walking
Distance, yeah.
from this location. So they have candle making workshops, which are super fun. I'll tell you. And Johnny actually has some of his candles here. This is called Saturday Morning Cartoons, and I want you to guess what it smells like. I know what it smells like because I own this.
Cereal.
I know what it smells like because he told us this morning.
Yeah, tricks. Right?
Or Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
Fruity Pebbles, it's so good.
I want to smell it.
Sorry. What do we got over here? Dark Soul.
Oh, that one. That one's the popular one.
I bet.
Yeah.
It smells nice.
Jess was here earlier saying
that
that one should be called whatever your boyfriend from middle school smelled like.
Oh, that was like Axe body spray. But I'll say that Johnny is brilliant in the mixing of his scents. And he's got great candles, he's got great incense. His incense lasts 2 hours and doesn't smell like the friggin' same old non-shop blend that you get. So he's got good stuff. And I really enjoy doing the candle workshops because they're just really laid back.
Did you get to come to the one from the opening?
I haven't been in this location yet, but I went to it when they did it at the shop.
Oh, right.
And yeah, it's just, you walk away with something really fun that you created, and then you can light it and be like, oh, I did that. And this is one of the giant candle. There's actually 3 in this one, this giant candle. But it's got all sorts of
I got
fun
one of those.
bases.
I got the gold one.
Did you? You got the gold one?
Him and Arsenio gifted it to me for my show, but it wasn't ready for the show or something. I got it all mixed up, but I was picking up Arsenio the other day, and he's just like, here, and I was like, what?
Giant golden pineapple. I do that all the time.
Yeah, I was just like, my roommate was like, did you win that at a contest or something? What?
It's super cool though.
It is, and also Jess Ansbury will be doing
Paint parties here.
paint parties. You can follow Progress Not Perfection, PNP Paint Parties, and Johnny Wicks Candles, and Locally.lit, and find out, and the Shop Monterey, and find out what's happening between these 2 places. There's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the shop, they're open again this weekend for the open artist studio tours.
Yeah.
Who's up this week?
G.
Yeah, he's the one that got in for the tours.
Space.
But the whole place is open. So.
Yeah, and I just switched the artwork around a little bit. So, you know.
Your art exhibit?
No, the trading post in the front. Sometimes, you know, every month we're trying to like switch it up. Like this month we have T. Anderson's show coming out. It's regular experience.
That looks good.
So we had to put, you know, the artist wall where like my sculptures were. And,
Yeah.
like, I took all those down, put his artwork up there. So.
Yeah, over there.
My house.
It lives on the top of the. It lives on the wall at the top somewhere. It's there. It's there.
Does that work for sale?
Everything is for
Everything's
sale.
for sale.
Except my soul. I have not gotten there yet, but everything is for sale. Yeah.
Not yet. I think you're a long way for that. I have a story.
No, let's go. No. When you say I have a story, you keep going.
Wait.
Go ahead. What was your
When
story?
did you sell your soul?
No.
Makes you sound mean. Well, let's talk
It
about
was-
the rugby player you punched.
That was mean. No.
That's what I'm saying.
But she deserved it. She hit me first.
No, I'm not. There's nothing wrong with that. Being mean is good. You gotta be mean sometimes.
I agree.
You gotta assert yourself in this world, and it's not always gonna be nice.
And take risks. And rise up.
That's right.
And you get to say I've been punched in the face and I triple punched someone else back.
It was 4 times. But yeah, there was a VHS of it for a while.
Wow.
And I'm not sure who
We
has
gotta
it.
get that footage. I
Jen
need that
Krause,
footage.
Jen Krause, Mari Wallace, if you
Oh,
have
come
this,
on.
you guys,
Surface
my old
that.
roommates. Oh my gosh. We were playing in Colorado, tournament in Colorado.
We should make an NFT out of that.
And that, yeah, the haymakers that I threw back.
Yeah.
The only feedback I got was like, it was like too obvious. I was like, just wait. I mean, I was like,
What's
so.
the other mean story that you just were about to tell?
Oh, it was about like 7.
Oh, then don't. Okay, but so see. Okay, back to the sculpture collection.
Your sculpture.
When was that created?
It depends. It depends. I said depends. Yeah. A lot of it is old work.
And how old?
Like old, like 10 years old.
Oh wow.
You know, like the one with photos on them, because I was doing photography in college as well. So
Oh, okay.
that was a long time ago. But the
What's the
torso-
process of getting the photos on there?
You know the emotion that they have the paper has for photos to be like the photo paper. You know, the emotion that they put on top of that to
Yes.
be able to put so they sell it on liquid form.
Hmm.
It's called liquid light, and you can put it on any
Oh, okay.
porous surface.
Yeah.
Of course, don't expose it to the light because then it gets ruined.
Yeah.
And then once it's dried, you can develop it like a regular photo in the dark room.
No way. So that's actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, with the enlarger and yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
She should
awesome.
come to the Weston.
You definitely should.
Collective
Do you know about the Weston
and
Collective?
do a workshop on that. That'd be fun.
Oh, do you know? Cool.
That'd be sick.
Do you know about the Weston Collective?
I would totally be there.
Yeah, I would be there too.
Dude, you
Okay,
gotta
this
do
is
that.
this is you. You want to talk about?
All right. So
Okay, well,
the
remind
Weston,
me.
the Weston Collective, first of all, everybody should know about down here. It's really, really cool.
Okay.
It's on Broadway in Seaside at the MLK School of the Arts there at the top of the hill.
Oh, okay.
And the Weston family has a classroom that is a dedicated dark room and studio space. Right, so they have people have donated all kinds of cameras. They've got enlargers. They've got a dark room where you can develop film. You can do prints. Everything you need for film
It's there.
is there.
And then they do. So they're a nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
and they do outreach and classes. You know, especially for youth that don't have access to photography, and they do a lot of community work and outreach there as well. But they do also have memberships for people that just like to do photography and like darkroom hours, so that you can like come in and do
Yes.
stuff.
That's what I was gonna say.
And they do workshops for non-youth as well. So they have like a classroom set up, and like we're saying, bring in your liquid emulsion and like.
Oh, cool. Yeah, when I first moved down here, I actually went to MPC to try to, you know, I signed up for a class in photography just to use
To
the
use the
darkroom.
space.
But it was just so impossible there.
Yeah.
The lab technicians didn't like me.
Yeah. If it's not a fun place to work, you're not going to spend a lot of time there, then you're not going to get a lot of work done.
Yeah. I was like, hey, listen, like I already talked to the professor. I'm just kind of trying to get some work done. He'd just be like,
You just want to use the space.
yeah, he would not have it.
Yeah.
This was a learning space, and
Sometimes people get the tiniest amount of power and they just want to
yeah, that's
use it like
exactly. Yeah, I was like, I ain't really got time for this. No. But that's why I'm like, oh, that's dope. But it's been so long. I'm like,
So I was always doing like end of like the 2 a.m. slot.
oh
I
yeah.
had to grow a mineral once in mineralogy class, and
one time at band camp.
yeah,
Random.
and he uses this really expensive machine, and my slot was at like 2 a.m. and I was just so tired that I like forgot to put it in the machine, and so I just like started it. So that's when you wish the professor Dave Kit was there, and you have to call him up and be like, hey, we gotta like shut this whole thing. Anyway,
You needed that guidance, but C is just
she's a pro.
doing her own little badass shit over there.
It's true.
Oh, I swore. So there.
Oh,
Got that out of the way.
explicit marking.
That's right. We're now a mature podcast. So
This
let's
guy.
bring it.
You did it first.
All right. So the photo sculptures now to describe these. So it's like beautiful work. By the way, I absolutely love that work. So it's like a profile, like a mask. It's a face. It's sort of like that. And then there will be a photographic image on that. So the two forms of looking at the same time is really compelling. And making little videos out of it is really fun because it's like two different visual languages and the camera captures them so differently.
And you can see those pictures on Jake's blog. He took some nice photos at jakethomasphoto.com.
That's right.
And they can follow you. Art Sevilla. And see those images as well.
Yeah.
After the podcast, obviously.
And if,
Don't scroll away.
for all you art collectors out there, because we're talking to you folks as well. I can remember our last podcast, part of it was we were talking about collaborations, right?
And cultivate.
Yes, and how the model and the photographer in that relationship, I see as being collaborators, and that when you're an artist and you're more open to what people bring to a project, there's actually more excitement, I think, that can come from it. And so working with collectors is actually a really productive and creative thing. That's how a lot of the great artworks of all time were created, because there was a collector who liked an artist and funded their work to
Sponsored them, supported them. Yeah.
So we want to talk to you folks out there who are in that sector of the art world, who love art, don't do it necessarily, but in collecting it, you are producing it. The collector is kind of a producer because they help the whole project to go on. And I think that this work is definitely collectible. I mean, I think it just has its own artistic merit. 100%. I would love to have one of those pieces myself if I were a collector. And we're going to talk more about where you evolve to from there. But just stunning work, and
we want to support the collectors investing in the local artists in the community. And I think too, there's the emerging philanthropists.
exactly.
Right? People that want to help the community. Holidays are coming up, it's like easy to do, where you can get this beautiful piece, never to be replicated, and know that it's going back to an artist in our community.
Oh yeah.
Win-win. All around.
That's exactly right. Like, say if I would like to see, one of the things I want to see is I want to see the next generation of art collectors. There's a lot of young people who have been able to make a lot of money in this day and age through technology and just through the different opportunities things that we have. And that's what I'm saying, like the collectors help to shape the culture.
Yes.
So I'm really curious to see what this next generation, you know, we're here in Monterey, a place that has a great heritage of art.
Absolutely. And I think that we have places like the Trading Post that have art that's tangible and available. So I think that those young collectors are the ones that are getting the stamps, and I mean the stickers, right, and the mugs and the prints. I mean, you guys sell a ton of prints, right? Because people want it, and they're like, I don't know, $5.50, or you know, some of this bigger stuff on the walls. They're like, that's a little steep, especially in our current time. But they are stoked about stuff that they can take home and also, you know, represent and support the local community. So it's like this really fun. I think you can see it happening, but it's in the smaller, more tangible arts right now, and not necessarily the like big, expensive pieces, right?
Oh yeah.
But we wanna start seeing those go too, right?
Oh yeah.
Merchandising is great.
Her, the chest piece with the hearts pouring out is just
Gorgeous.
sick.
Yeah. That belongs in a museum, for sure.
And he's got a degree to prove it.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking
I know what I'm talking about. I don't see that, you know. I won't talk up stuff that I don't believe in.
There you go.
You lose your credibility that way.
Yeah.
And it's why people should listen to this podcast, because we're going to tell them real shit.
That's right. I'm
Look
like,
at that, I joined in.
thank you. makes it more fun that way. But okay,
We'll
so
save that for we're going to do an episode where we're just going to sample cookies and see what happens. And that'll be just fun. See where it goes.
that's right.
For a later date,
Yeah.
once we get to know each other.
You can eat a cookie anytime.
I want you to eat 200 milligrams.
Definitely no rules about that. But okay, so
Except that you have to stay here in case.
yes, there are legal rules about transportation afterwards. See, so back to that process. Where were you doing that? Like, because that's kind of a difficult thing.
I was doing that in college.
But where? What college?
Humboldt State.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you went up to Humboldt?
Humboldt State.
Wow.
Represent.
Cool. And so what was the art program like up there? Was it pretty cool?
The best.
Yeah.
The best. The absolute best. I mean, Humboldt is known for its science. You know, it's very like, if you get a bachelor's in Humboldt, it's treated as a master's because it's so intense. In the world, I don't know. My science friends would tell me that, you know. But the arts were really good, especially if you were trying to do things with. I mean, we had a foundry. I learned foundry work because my school had a foundry, and there were only 2 Cal States, I believe, that have foundries. But
Well, like, and that technique is pretty sophisticated.
yeah, like the lost wax process is so old, you know, like. But I mean, aside from that, like we had.
Wait. Let's just pause there for a second. So we'll get into that a little bit.
What is chasing wax?
So, no, the lost wax process.
It's just the way of casting bronze sculptures, bronze statues, monuments, that type of thing. You know, where it's such a long process and it's such a visual thing too. But you have a sculpture, and then you make a mold out of the sculpture, and then you put wax in the sculpture. You get a positive. But the mold has seams from where it was put together, so you have to chase it. You have to make sure that the lines, everything, all the imperfections are gone, so it looks like exactly like the original. Yeah. And then you take that, coat it in a ceramic shell, which is just a lot of silica and the slurry thing. Dip it in different sands until it's thick enough that you can melt the wax out of that, and then heat up metal at 2700 degrees and pour it into those shells. And then you break the shells. I mean, once the metal is pulled in, you break the shells. You have to those also have a lot of imperfections, so you also have to chase the metal. After that's done, you have to chase the metal. If it's cut in pieces, you have to put all of the pieces together and make it look exactly like the original. And then after that's done, then you do the patina process, which is coloring the sculpture. And that's done by applying heat and different chemicals to speed up the chemical reaction, so it changes different colors depending on the combination that you use. So so it's a long process. It's a long process, yeah. But that's what chasing wax is. It's basically just making the casts of wax that you just did look like it's perfect. Seamless. Exactly, that's what they're seamless.
And you've done that locally with some pretty famous
Yeah.
sculptors.
Yeah. I mean, Steven was one of them. I worked with Steven for a while too. Richard McDonald. I worked with the Monterey Sculpture Center, where I got to meet all kinds of people, tons of people from all over the world too.
Do you think, do sculptors have a certain type of personality that's different than other artists?
I mean, artists alone have their own different quirks than the rest of the population.
Yes.
I wouldn't say all sculptors, but I will say that I don't know, with the bronze particularly, because not all sculptors are made of bronze, but with the bronze game, I mean, people do this a lot, so.
Okay, let me ask you, let me put it in a different way, okay? So I went to Lewis and Clark to get a degree in art, and I was a painter. I focused on painting, but I took
Oil or acrylic?
both. I would do acrylic and usually finish with oil. But there was this great, I can't think of his name right now. There's this great sculptor who taught there, and I took one course with him. But his attitude was basically putting down the painters, oh, that's easy. His whole thing was Michelangelo didn't want to paint. He was a sculptor.
You did a great job with your painting studies. Tell her what you worked out for your senior project.
Oh yeah, no, I had a good senior project. Well, so what I got a grant to hire a model, and I worked with her for the whole year. I would paint from life, I would photograph, and I would paint from photograph. So it was a study in portraiture, 3 different modes, and then created an installation at the end that housed all the work inside of this gallery. And the series was called Not Susan, because the kind of idea was just through a year-long exploration of portraiture, how close could you get to a person? And it's I got to know her really well, created a beautiful friendship, and learned more about, that relationship between an artist and a model is such an interesting thing. It's very intimate in a lot of ways, and it's like a friendship, but it's like parallel play in a way, you're in this thing together. But anyways, at the end, I realized, and I knew going into it, that representations of people are just that. They're gestures in the direction of who a person is or may be, but you can never capture a person.
I mean, we don't even know who we are, let alone another human.
Thank you.
And as we were talking earlier, really it's maybe our imperfections that are our best qualities.
Exactly.
I was gonna ask, have you ever had that kind of relationship with the model since?
Oh yeah.
That intense?
Maybe not.
He got
Yes.
every day for a year.
Well, yeah.
Photograph
I had
that's intense.
I had a model that was my muse. 4 years.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah.
Best.
Wow.
And then I stopped taking photographs after that.
It's a powerful
It is.
thing.
That's why you were able to get that again and again. I felt like I lost that there, and then
Maybe you just need another muse.
Well, yeah, well that was the thing, and it's hard to put that kind of pressure on anything or anyone or look for that
Well,
thing.
it's gotta be really nice.
Just switch mediums, what else?
Well, it's like dating. It's not gonna be right the first, immediately.
Yeah,
I
I
just
just
or
wonder.
it could be just like meet somebody and be like, oh my god, I totally want to take a picture.
I guess. I don't know.
Maybe
I
the
just
photography floats back into.
I'm just like with my muse model person. It would be one of those things where we'd be walking somewhere and I'd be like, that'd be a great shot. Can you get naked right now? And then they'll be like, sure.
Yeah.
You know, and then just go and do it.
No, exactly. But boom.
And who
you
does
have
that?
to have that type of relationship.
That's why I'm like, how good have you been able
Yes,
to?
I have.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing when you achieve that, and it's such an awesome thing because
It is.
okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about earlier. As a photographer, there's this thing that happens, right, where you're constantly looking for shots, right? You're looking for compositions, and so I find myself as I'm walking around, I'll see different elements because as you change perspective, the way they line up changes perspective, right? So I'll see all of a sudden the way the road, the way the building, the way the tree, everything kind of comes into this shot, right? And so now I know what the shot is. Now I just need to wait for the right light, right? So this is how you preconceive the photograph. Because how do you know ahead of time what a photograph is going to look like, right? But so then that's just with the landscape, right? So now you need to put a figure in that landscape. So now you need to know that space, the light, how that all comes together, and you need to know the person and have the familiarity to get them in the mode to be, so this is a level of difficulty that I feel like.
But I don't think that every outing is that way. Because I have a photographer that I will be with similarly, and she'll be like, oh yeah, go over there and do this and just take your clothes off. And you're like, sure, yeah. No, and there are some times where it's like, I have this place and we gotta go at this time and like da-da-da, but it's not always that formulated. I think part of it is just that off the cuff.
I think both.
Look at that rock. Sure. Now go bend over backwards and make it look comfortable.
I mean, no, yeah, for sure. Like, I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I get it. When I did photography, it was very. I worked in a studio, you know, and I just had my muse. I rarely use any other. I mean, that's not true. Those wings that you see them, like I made those. So that was like the part of the preconceiving things. But yeah, when it was out and about in the world, it was usually like a random, it was like a random thing, not so much planned out.
Well, okay, so that's the other part that I was going to get to is that, to me, the
We
one,
don't have a plan, but he always has a plan.
the one for me, this is just, the one is the higher bar of the pre-visualized shot, because that's something I have to work on for years to try to actually achieve. And it's about relationships, it's about relationship to a place. But I also, of course, during the whole time that you're not getting that shot, you're getting all kinds of other shots, and the shots you're gonna get while you're trying to get that shot are gonna be spontaneous and improvised. So I agree with both ways. And I love finding the thing that you had no idea existed. Right? And like just a certain view of a certain beach maybe that you never even knew existed. And so this is the part of the process that I love, where you're out looking, right? But so as the artist with the model, you kind of feel like responsible. Like, if we don't get some good shit, this is all me, right? I'm not blaming them.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit of pressure, and that's why if you have a pre-visualized idea, then you kind of have more confidence of, well, this is what we're trying to do. But if you're just kind of randomly going, the models can start to, their insecurity can start to get to you, and you can start to go, oh, what am I doing?
See, yeah, I can't handle that. That's why I'm like, nope. I had one person, because having to do that. This, and also this, I'm assuming this is like digital photography.
Correct.
See, like over here, you have to premeditate so hard because you're working with film. I used to work with film. So when you have to, you only have 4x5 negatives to use. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you don't even know if you got it until you developed it.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I want to focus on pre-visualization, because it keeps it more in line with that discipline.
Right. So, yeah.
Did I ever tell you I was the photography editor for my high school newspaper?
No, you just did.
There you go.
And I appreciate that.
I just appreciate you guys are like talking as the photographers. I'll be the model.
Oh, you can talk as a photographer too?
No, that's all right.
I mean, that's something that.
But I think film is important to know. I don't know. So here's an idea.
Okay.
Are you a better photographer if you've worked with film and then moved
Good
into
question.
digital?
Good question.
Does having experience with film, you think, made you? Because we've all been like in that middle of the night where you're like, I have a deadline in the morning, and I need at least one of these to come out, and you're paying through the nose to get it expedited, delivered, overnight, and you're like, just. And it's stressful, right? I feel like digital photography is way less stressful. But it probably gave us, you had precious resources that you had to make the most of, right? We had the 2 rolls. You had those 12 images.
I mean, there's definitely a pressure put on when you only know you have 24 photos in this roll. Like, you better make them count, I guess.
Yeah. It's different in that way, but I don't think that the differences are that extreme.
I try to do digital, and it just, for me, it was all about I like long processes. I'm a slow processor.
You're a sculptor.
I always joke about like when something happens in life, you have to give me three business days to process it.
Nice.
You know, because that's what I like. Sculpture is a long process. Photo is a long process too.
Yeah. Writing is a lot. Painting is a long process.
I guess, but yeah. Like, why are you so detailed on this? It's the process. It's longer if the more detailed you are, the longer the process becomes. Wow, interesting. It just blew my own mind.
Just learn something about yourself, and that's what we're here to do.
I'm like, oh,
Things that make you go,
Why did I spend so much time on where I was literally like cursing at myself, like, why do you do this to yourself? And I'm like, because it's the process, it's what I enjoy. I mean, I was rushing, and so it was
We saw you a few days before your exhibit.
the process can be a little but that's why, because it's all about the process, I guess. And with the digital camera, it was just too, I still enjoy it, don't get me wrong. I'm always still taking photos. I'm not out there with my SLR, just doing the things that I used to do, like trespassing things, just to get that cool shot, I don't know that.
I would never trespass.
Or you can, you could.
Right. What was that saying again?
That if you're a photographer and you're carrying a camera, the no trespassing signs, they don't count for you.
Yeah. It's a passport.
Yeah, so it's like a free pass.
It's magical passport, backstage pass, everything you ever want.
I should take up photography again.
You should. Everyone should, but it's harder than you think. But okay, so back to the digital versus film. There's this artist that I discovered actually through this YouTube channel. I forget his name. Simon Sinek, I think it is. But anyways, he's this British guy, and he showcases art photographers that he likes, digital photographers or regular. But there's this one woman named Rachel Talabart. She's this British woman who photographs the ocean, waves, and they're beautiful, poetic, beautiful shots, right? Very different than one of the most photographed subjects of all.
Right. I'm trying to be like, huh.
I'll send you a link to her stuff because I think you really like her. But what she does is she chooses specific days when she's going to go shoot. She calendars her shooting time, right? And so she goes and photographs for the day on the coast, and then she puts that card away. She doesn't even put it in her computer, right? For maybe 3 or 4 weeks, right? And then endorphins, that instant gratification, take the shot, see the shot, put the shot up. Because what happens is when you do a shoot, right, you get endorphins, you get adrenaline, you're excited. It's emotional, right? You're like, oh, this is so great. Look at this sunset, we were out here, and then you are too close to it to know if it's good. Which is what film did for us, was just take a little time away.
You sometimes even forget. You just find some.
Right. Or you find a role that you're like, I wonder what's on this. And yeah.
What's on it?
What's on it? I lived my whole high school with the like single-use Kodak single-use cameras. Those are like the first selfies.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, but so I was just saying that
That's why she does that. That's why she waits and then.
Because then when she goes to
and then you look at it with fresh eyeballs.
Fresh eyeballs, no emotion attached.
I don't know.
So now you can really read
I
the
don't
whole
know
work.
if I could circumvent the instant gratification.
So
That's a long time.
I've done that as an experiment, and I find it to be really, really worthwhile. And it's also
So do you only not do it when models are expecting product?
exactly.
I'm like,
Where's my
I can see you.
shot?
I'm like, you're like, that's like part of it, right? Like the excitement of it, I guess. I'm like, if you like that, I'm like, make a one-of-a-kind sculpture and hand it up to people and just trust that it's not gonna blow up in the in the process, and then it's gonna turn out perfect at the end. Looking at it for the first time,
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
8 weeks later.
Yeah. It makes it more.
Like, get in the sculpture game.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. That
To wait
aspect
for it to be born.
Yeah.
of your work is that it's in a world where we have just so much instant gratification. Anything that pushes against that, I feel like, is doing good work. We need patience. We need people who still want to take the time to write, sit down and articulate their thoughts.
Like, what are we in a rush about? For? Like,
Well, I think you're just in a rush right now.
Wow. Tides, tempests, and sirens. It's Rachel.
Ah, yes, exactly.
Tides, tempests, and sirens.
We'll add a link to her.
Yeah.
You can check her out. She's deep.
Also follow the Weston Collective and
Yep.
Zach Weston.
Yeah.
So the Weston Collective, speaking of, is fundraising for a digital, to add a digital portion to their darkroom.
That may have something to do with digital, maybe not more there.
I mean, but if you think about resources and you're giving kids their first opportunity to take photos, instant gratification, one, they're going to like it immediately. Two, you don't waste a whole bunch of film on kids that are like using a camera for the first time.
Right.
And they can
Have to
work
worry
on
about
stuff
making
like
the chemicals.
lighting and angles. Right. Well, I mean, and one thing that Zach and I talked about during COVID is that he had a hard time with the closed darkroom. Like, how do we talked about staggering it and stuff. And so
Digital makes it easier to
oh yeah.
bring people on board to the game of photography.
yes. And if you have a phone, you're already participating in digital photography.
Exactly.
So it's just honing skills to capture.
You got to go through a learning
Techniques.
curve. It takes a long time to get good.
Right. You can't just say, "Oh, I read this article on how to do it, and now I can shoot."
I went to YouTube University.
YouTube University.
Watched a couple videos. Figured it out.
I mean, you get a good start there, but you're gonna have to put a lot of time in the field, experiment, see how it goes.
Hopefully, find a muse that wants to help you through your process.
That's gonna accelerate things a bit for sure.
It will.
Yeah.
We have a patient.
Because there is just something about that energy, that exchange, that is super compelling, right? Where it's like, because I was thinking about this, and this is actually part of what I wanted to talk to you about as well. See, is where do you come up with new ideas? Like, where do ideas come from for you?
Huh.
In terms of just like
Creative
Period.
like
ideas.
creatively, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I
Do you
know.
dream about them?
No.
Do they like flutter to your
I
conscience
people
while you
who
drink coffee?
do a lot of this don't dream. I hear. Do you dream? Do you dream?
I do, but when I stop, then I'm dreaming like crazy.
Oh well, it's only when I stop that I dream. So I usually don't dream.
Yeah.
But sorry, I was like.
No, that's
We're playing with cookies. Big Pete's.
Where do they come from? I'm not. I mean, a lot of it is a lot of it is just like the really emotional stuff. I feel like I divide my work in a lot of sections. Like, I find that my sculpture is very dramatic and it comes from a very like vulnerable position, very raw and yeah, it's just overall dramatic. But when it comes to painting, it's a little more fun. It's a little more, So it depends on the mood, I guess, as far as the ideas goes. But when it comes to art, like through photography and sculpture, it was very. The ideas come from just I don't know. It was just a lot of healing, a lot of art. Like photography in particular was a lot of healing.
So say more about that. Like what kind of healing?
Just like emotional healing.
Yeah.
Like our professor was. He was like our mentor, and he was just a super emotional person as well, I guess. And his artwork, like if you look at his artwork, his photos are so they just emote so much that it was like, ooh, you can really express yourself through art. You could really like work through some things. You could really like let it out that way.
So
or you could take 200 milligrams. Travel into the night.
Oh, you could do that, You can do that.
Same.
I definitely had some epiphanies during that, and I wrote about them and podcasted about it. Oh yeah, but for me, walking is a place where I'll get ideas.
Oh, I mean,
1,000,000%.
I mean, why isn't that how you process like I read something about how walking is the thing that triggers creativity the most.
I believe it.
Because I walk a lot too.
Yeah.
Like I'm with the dog at the beach, I'm with the dog at
Yeah.
the woods. I'm just walking, listening
Yeah.
to music, whatever. And yeah, but a lot of it is just processing. Like,
Just from the work.
Meditative.
Yeah, it's meditative. It's
Meditative
just
walking.
life experience. Yeah, but it also depends on what I'm trying to do. Like sometimes I'm just trying to have fun, and
Okay.
then I'll just
So you keep
paint.
gesturing
pointing
to
behind
to the photo.
me.
So let's look at the photo and talk about, the painting, and talk about what is going on with this.
Well, like this one, for example, I just like this situation
Should I
is.
bring it in front of us?
Yeah.
Let's bring it up.
Yes. Help me so that we can. Okay.
I'll put it in front of me. You can talk about it.
There. This is great. Oh gosh. See, like for example, this one, this painting in particular, it was mostly finger painted.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? I mean, not the crown. The crown was definitely like, but I just mean like trying something different, having fun.
Nice.
You know, I think it's a little dramatic when the frames are on.
Hmm.
You know, there's still a little bit of that. But
And that's the sculptural element. How
right,
funny.
exactly.
How
Well, that's the
funny.
sculpture. You know what I mean? Like
Wow, so it's more embodied emotion for you in 3-dimensional.
yeah, but I'm gonna try to bring that into the 2D next.
And then more fun with the painting. That's how you're approaching it.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
Nothing wrong with that. That sounds great to
I
me.
mean, we'll. If I can, you don't have to hold it there forever. We can put it over here. Let's see your face. Let's see your face. Yeah, no, I'm. It's just. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, but let's go back to from the work that I saw. You said some of that was 10 years ago
Yeah.
at Humboldt.
Yeah.
And so when did you move your art practice from Humboldt to Monterey?
At the end of 2013, Halloween of 2013.
Interesting.
Yeah, actually.
So
it's
right
gonna
around
be-
this time
Yeah.
of year.
Yeah, it's gonna be what? How many years?
9.
9 years?
Wow.
Wow, where does the time go? I've been in Monterey for like 6 years.
Almost a decade.
That's not the case. Wow, okay.
I did not get a degree in art.
That's my excuse. That's totally my excuse. I used it earlier today trying to figure out the tip for the restaurant next door.
But your paintings are very realistic. I mean, they're almost like photographs.
But so is everything you do. There's an element of realism to it.
Right.
Yeah, I struggle with
What's up with that?
abstract thinking.
Tell me about
I wish I knew.
Is that OCD? Is that type?
It's maybe.
Okay. Is it in your work or in your appreciation?
What do you mean?
Like
both?
Okay, so you don't like abstract work?
Well, I mean, some of it, it's like, for example, and I love using this example because it made sense. You know Kandinsky?
Yeah.
You know, it's all music. The paintings are music, right? And you see them in freaking art history and just like, yeah, there's some more triangles, more lines, and more color, whatever. But then you see it in real life.
Yeah.
And you hear the music. I mean, I did.
Yeah.
Like, I got so close to it that the guard had to yell at me
Yeah.
to like get over. So I was just like enthralled by it. And I've seen them before, and I was like, whoa, there is something to abstract, I guess.
Nice.
You
Yeah.
know?
My first experience, because when I feel a lot of artists start out kind of needing skill in a way, and realism being kind of the highest bar of skill, to sort of ground them in the creative work, because you're already going into this kind of other space, right? So I always thought, and it's partly because people have skepticism about art in general, but especially about abstract art.
Right.
Right? So I remember I always thought abstract art was ridiculous. It's just they were unskilled, right? But I had the privilege to go to London as part of my college, and I would go to the Tate Museum every day. I'd go there and I'd draw and I'd explore and I'd look around. And I was mainly going there to draw like classical paintings because that's where the skill was, right? But I kept seeing this room. It was the Rothko room, and it's kind of dark and it's quiet, and you had to walk into it. I was like, "There's big squares here. Like, I got it. You like squares, bro." But finally, one day I went in there and I read the little plaque on the wall. And so this was a commission for the Seagram's building. It was going to go up in a banquet hall. But Rothko realized that people were never going to get the paintings. He had kind of reached this breakthrough with this painting, darker tones, paintings that are meant to reveal themselves to you over time, not jumping out at you. And so he knew they were never going to be seen the right way in the banquet hall. So he gave back all the money, millions of dollars, donated them for free to the Tate Museum if they would build a room with the right light so that people could experience the paintings the way they're meant to be experienced. So I was like, oh, fuck. He gave back millions of dollars to build this room. I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I sat down and looked at the paintings, and they started to change. And I felt like I was walking through the woods on edibles.
See how you know what I'm saying.
Straight up, I had a psychedelic experience in front of the painting. Totally stone cold sober. I was like, oh, well, this is fucking something, huh? This is really something else. And so then it opened up a whole world of abstract painting. And I realized, no. This is a language, of its own. Mm-hmm. It's like when you go to hear classical music or jazz, there's no lyrics.
Yeah,
but there is
I was just going to
emotion.
compare it to jazz.
Yeah. And there's
It's
skill.
Monterey, so like, yeah.
So for me, that was when, so then I did abstract painting for a long time. And I love it.
I once had to paint an abstract painting and I cried. I was just throwing like all this. I got really frustrated and I just threw all this paint on it. And I remember my professor walked by and I was just like, oh, I did something. And she was like, it's a nice background you got going on. Let me go.
That's such a good response from a teacher. I had this
Let me go. And I worked this abstract hell.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what do you mean? Like, are you making but this one just brings you down.
Wow.
The abstract
So
one
she
is
knew
just-
you. See, I had a painting teacher, the only painting teacher
The
who
only
I
one
ever liked.
Oh, the only one I had.
I mean, I liked Phyllis. Phyllis is awesome. So Phyllis, if you're out there, follow me on Facebook. We just became friends again after something happened in New York that made our relationship go a little bit awry. We'll get into that in a future podcast. But I had this painting teacher who just got me. Like, his name was John Housey. He painted both abstract and figurative, which was why I respected him, because this is before abstract for me, right? So I was like, well, he knows how to paint. So he's doing this shit on purpose. Like, he can fucking really paint. But he saw me working on this painting, and I brought it to him as finished. He goes, it's a good beginning, dude. Like, that's the first part. Like, go further.
Yeah.
And then he would come see me working on something. He goes, dude, you're thinking about your girlfriend instead of the painting. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't even know. But so shit like that, that's the thing a teacher can do. Is just push it a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, this one, that was the only class I ever took, and the last one. Never doing. Well, no, it
Well,
was.
considering how amazing you paint,
Well, and who
She
knows?
must have been a great professor. Right? But it's been years since I took that beginning painting class in college.
And who knows where you'll go. I mean, I think you're going to do abstract painting after hearing this, because especially since emotion is a connection for you in your work. Like, what you were saying to me is that your work, the ideas for your work come out of your emotional experiences. And so having that emotional experience with abstract art, I would challenge you to say there's something there for you.
I mean, I listen, Linda. It's gonna happen. Like maybe when I'm already like having issues with. I'm like, there's gonna be a point where I'm not gonna be able to hold a brush, okay? And then you'll see the abstract start coming out.
Okay.
Until then, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I just started something, and I don't know. Like right now, my next venture is like I'm getting into the world of tattooing.
Oh,
So who knows what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
We're just
that's cool.
I do want to explore with painting. Like I had an idea of doing oils next, maybe that would be a thing, but and more figurative stuff. That I do animals because paintings are all figurative, or I was trying to really do something different, I guess. But still relatable in a way, I guess. But I'm thinking of I do want to. I have to give it a shot to doing. I don't know. I always think of like the Baroque period when I think of paintings that I'd like to paint. And I think of like dark, like that.
Nice.
But
Like Spanish painters, or?
I don't know. Like I don't know. Caravaggio comes to mind.
Okay.
Just like that. But then I'm like, I don't want to do like classical painting. So I'm like, I gotta have to add something to it. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But abstract will come at some point. Even with sculpture, like
Nice.
there's some abstract sculpture out there. I mean, working at the Monterey Sculpture Center, so some things that I mean, like I don't even know what this is,
Yes.
but I'm really into it,
Yes.
Or
And that in itself is a cool thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what it is,
exactly,
but
but I'm into it. It's like, oh,
And that's a mystery, right?
yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I have a hard time knowing when to stop when it comes to trying to make something look as realistic as I can, and I have a reference to. I mean, I feel like that's gonna take layers and layers of like.
To know when to stop
to
with
know.
an abstract, where there's
Yeah, and it's gonna take a lot for me to.
when you stop crying.
Oh.
Maybe when you're done, when you stop crying. I mean, maybe you just paint until the tears stop flowing and you'll look at it and be like,
I think I'm gonna do all the things that I like all the I don't know, I feel like abstract is gonna be something way later where I made it and I can make an abstract and people are like, oh, I've proven myself. And now people are like, oh, abstract, she must know what she's
outside your
doing.
comfort zone.
Yeah.
gonna challenge you again a little bit more.
Oh.
But it's not. So the whole thing is, it's like, I love your work. So my challenges are just fun little prompts for you, right?
Mm-hmm. And self-serving, because no one wants to see what you're doing.
Yeah. But also it's just ideas that I've heard or come across over time that I liked and resonated with that I think you might. But so Picasso, right?
That's exactly who I was thinking of this whole time. Yeah. Yeah.
So Picasso, one of his reasons why he chose abstraction was to have more freedom. To be the one who says when it's done.
Yeah.
Not to let the natural, we are enslaved to the natural world in so many ways. Like there's this one space where we could do anything.
Yeah.
So why not do anything? You know what I mean? And to me, that is kind of like the statement of why to abstract.
I mean, but okay, yes. And that's why I was thinking of Picasso too, because I'm like, that is the first person that I think about when he started out. Like, yeah, that's Picasso for sure. But then you think about like the world that we're in today. The same reason why I like contemporary art these days, where you can sell an invisible sculpture for a lot of money, or you can, you know, like there's also like that.
Okay.
I mean.
Yes. So this is where people have suspicion about the art world, right?
Yeah.
They think it's a con.
Yeah.
Right? Mainly, I think that comes from the moment in American art history when Duchamp placed the urinal
That told me.
at the Armory show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because that's the birth of conceptual art.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, in order to understand what's even happening there, you already have to be in the art world. So most people, that is so alienating, because he was with another group of artists putting on a show with the whole idea being, we say what art is.
Yeah.
The public doesn't know. They don't have a clue. We're gonna say it.
Yeah.
And so then he put that out as his work, and all the other artists were like, no, that's not fucking artwork. It's a toilet. And so he proved the point that even artists have a hard time accepting other people's visions.
Yeah.
And so because of that, you know, it's like there's that opened up this whole world that is the banana on the wall.
Yeah, that was
the other
sculpture. It is all those things that are merely within the art world trying to push new boundaries, create new zones.
Right.
And so if you know the people who are doing it and you trust them as serious people, then you see the work as there is merit to it. But the general public will never get it because they're going to see the banana on the wall and they're just going to be pissed that millions of dollars are involved in this fucking thing, right?
Well, I mean, like, aren't you a little pissed?
I'm not, because people waste money on.
I mean, no, for
World.
sure. It's just like that. How the rest of the population don't get it, right? And it's just like people don't know what to spend their money on anymore. We're over here, like, I don't know.
It's gone a bit far.
Yeah.
Well, I think in general the art world is way too far away from the public, which is why I would suggest continuing in your realism, because that's going to be way easier for the public to connect with you. But just
See, okay, cool. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no.
I'm like the abstract situation. I'm like, that's when I make a name, and when people are
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
this is I'm
You
like,
gotta-
people are gonna be scared from that. And they're like,
For sure. No, that's not good marketing advice for you.
Oh, okay.
But just
Maybe
a challenge.
you take the Baroque colors that you like as the beginning, and then just see. Because maybe people want to see that dark, abstract.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
You can just smear your
We
You
call it
document
that.
the process,
We call
but
it
don't look
that.
at it for 3 weeks before you.
I mean, that could be it. The next thing, right? The next thing could just be selling the video of making a thing, and the thing is not even a thing.
Totally.
Listen to what NFTs are.
Yeah, it's not fungible.
But there's something also that is kind of beautiful about that thing.
Well, this like mandalas is all about the process,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. It's all about the process. It's
Yeah.
always all about the process.
That's why.
Just circle the whole back.
We just yes.
Just had a complete thought. Back to conversation.
Okay, but so tell me real quick.
Yeah.
When did you transition from sculpture to painting?
It was at what was it, 2018, when the foundry shut down and I got injured and I couldn't use my hands for sculpture anymore. So I started painting at the end of 2018.
What happened, if you don't mind my asking?
I was just the foundry went on, like, you know, they kicked us out real quick out of there, and we had like 2 weeks to finish like a lot of work. We had to finish a lot of work, so we were on overdrive finishing the work, and I just overdid it. My hands shut off, and then from there they found another array of complications. Like I had to have spinal surgery, and I'm seeing the neurologist next week. I'm still on the path of recovery from that.
And it was from overworking?
Well, it's a mystery, basically, because they keep finding things wrong with me, which is not. It's just that
Sometimes it's no fun to be the special case.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely isn't.
Sometimes
it's a mystery, you know. Like it was getting ignored because people kept saying like the doctor, you're too young to have this, you're too young to have this, and then they're like, oh shit, you need major surgery. Just kidding. You have a 65-year-old neck. Thanks. But no, it's just wear and tear. I've always been really like a physical person. Like I've always had really hard jobs, physical body jobs. So I think it's just like a lot of wear and tear, and I do a lot with my hands, like sculpture and playing the guitar, or you know, paint. I mean, painting doesn't hurt, you know. Like it's just a brush. And that's why I picked up painting. I was kind of going crazy at home, and my friend just brought me paints and a bunch of canvases. That's why all those paintings are the same size. Because she literally just brought me a pack of them.
Nice.
And they're fantastic.
And she's like, do something with these. So that's why I started painting. And it was just for fun. And then I met the muralist guys. They took me in to go paint somewhere, and I was like, I'm just a help, right? But then they're like, okay, we're gonna do another mural. I was like, oh shit, I better get good at painting. Like I better do some practice.
Give a shout out to those muralist guys.
Yeah, shout out to La Neta. I love you guys.
That way.
La Neta way.
Arsenio,
We got some.
Catalina,
Arsenio,
Gerardo,
Natalia, and G.
Natalia.
Love you guys. So it was very much like they're all painters, you know. I had this chip on my shoulder about like
Painters.
See?
yeah.
See? I knew it.
What?
Sculptors.
Have a chip on their shoulder
They
about
do.
painters.
Look down
Oh, I was
there.
gonna say it was
Just
just
proved it right.
you are right.
I know.
I didn't want to say it, but there is a joke that when a sculptor retires, becomes a painter.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't want to say it right, but yeah.
And well, then what
We
happens?
knew where you were holding from back.
What happens when you go from painting to photography? That's
Well, I don't know.
I like all different media.
But
Because
I mean,
they all do
same.
different things for
Same.
you. And they introduce you to different people. Like, look, you took up painting, you got a whole new crew.
Yeah, exactly. Like
And a whole new career because you're fantastic. Yeah.
And then as you go into tattooing, that's going to be a whole
well, that's my whole thing. I'm like, yo, we're in this world, in this space rock floating around. We're here alive for a second, and you want to spend your whole life doing one thing. I mean, good for you if that's the thing you
that
want
makes
to do.
it go for it.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna have all the experiences that I can and try to see what's in it. I don't know. I'm also, I gotta keep myself busy.
With another process, you have to plan a new process. Was the exhibit a couple weekends ago your first painting exhibition?
Yes.
And you sold
This guy is
this painting.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Shout out to her. This one is sold. That's why show this one. I had no time to get attached to it because I finished it 2 days prior to the show.
Well, can you grab another painting that's not sold so we can show off another painting?
Sure.
That might be fun.
Sorry, Joni.
Yeah, squeaky chairs.
I know. Sorry.
Oh, you can get a nice little tour of the
Look at this space.
locally lit.
It's
Great
beautiful.
space. And during the day when the sun is shining, those big windows.
I gotta show my creature.
You do, the baby boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful painting.
Why do they have crowns on?
Why?
Metaphysical.
It started because of this guy actually. He
Is adorable.
Yeah, he's adorable, but he's also a princess. And I always joked about like him having a tiara on, and that's that's how this series was born. Because when my friends brought me the paints and stuff, I didn't know where to start. You know, so where do you start with this? I was like, I'm gonna paint a picture of Chip, but that's so daunting. You know, that's like that's your boo boo, and you don't know how to paint. You know what you're doing. You don't want to do it any justice, I guess. So that's why it started. I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a series of animals with crayons. So just to explore different textures, different colors, get a handle of it, you know. And then once I had I literally started like it was a drunken night. I did a flamingo, very, you know, and.
Nice.
And then after that, I was like, after 3, I was like, this is the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a whole, you know, and yeah, this was one of the last ones that I did and I think it shows. If you were to see the flamingo and see Chip, you'd be like, I'm glad you waited.
Oh, nice. You can see the progression.
Yeah, you can definitely see the progression. You're like, yeah.
Now, what about, there is a strong element of abstraction though, as far as you have the figure and then you have the background is treated more abstract.
Yeah, well, that's exploration. It's a little daunting to stare at a blank canvas, and same. My professor like dope ass backgrounds you got going on. I remember that because it's kind of similar to what I was doing. I was just kind of going crazy.
Yes.
But it's just a fun, easy, quick way to mess up the canvas to a point where you're like, well, it can only get better from here.
Interesting.
And then that way it's not so, like you can only, I have this thing working in the sculpture world, having to make sculptures look perfect. I have this thing where I just have to fix things, you know?
That's rad.
So once you mess it up, then you're like, okay, I gotta fix it. Like there's
So funny. I had my high school art teacher was actually one of my favorite teachers of all time, and I'm still really good friends with her, and I've worked on projects with her. We had this commission to do these paintings, and she's a brilliant realist painter, like very like OCD realist, right? We would work on this thing, and this was my whole process is, okay, you make it look good, I'm coming in to fuck it up, and then you make it look good again. But to me, because the way she made it just look good, it was a little bit sterile. And I would come in and rough it up and fuck it up, you know, but make it more vital. And it was, so that's kind of what I see you doing on your own, is like rough it up, make it vital, raw, and then bring in this refined, elegant form on top of it. It's kind of a cool combination.
Yeah, I also try to do that with the subjects themselves. Like some of them, like if the faces, like if the eyes are really detailed or there's a really detail on the face, and the crown is just put on. Kind of like the chimp. Everyone really likes that one. And
the honey bat was my favorite.
true, that one's. But if there's like a serious focus on their faces, then the crown is kind of whatever, like the chip one here. But then this guy, that crown, I'm never painting another jewel.
The jewels look
Metal.
very, you know,
Metal
realistic.
and gem there.
like, yeah, I'm never painting like pearls. I'm kidding, I am, but you know, like, yeah, I was still playing with that a little bit, just kind of.
Can I say that the crown matches the animal?
Really?
Oh yeah, like the ears of the elephant and
Like
the
this
ears
situation?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fun fact, I modeled this crown out of the crown of Hamilton. Since you like musicals, that's a little tidbit right there.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I almost gave Chip a tiara. I almost did. I don't know why I didn't. I kind of like it this way too. It's like, oh, I haven't made one with. It was just.
It's very regal.
Yeah, I was
So-
like, I haven't done any gold. I haven't done any crowns that are not gold. I'm gonna do a silver one. You know, like just that type of thing. I'm just gonna do this.
Right.
That's how I make
So
it.
once you get into a series, you kind of have different variations.
Yeah.
That there's almost a logic to the thing, right?
Mhm.
Now, so that's your doggo, that's your pup.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's about to be 9 in February.
Wow, so he's kind of as old as your time here in Monterey.
Yeah. He was born in 2013.
Is that your first dog that you've had? Like
No, I used to have a black pit bull. His name was Jammer. Rescued from Sequoia.
National Park.
No, Sequoia like animal shelter or something. It's yeah, it's up in Humboldt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does having a dog do for you?
Oh, there's just I don't know. There's just he's everything. He's my little. I mean, he normally would be here just running around. I just didn't know the situation earlier today. Like I don't know if they're animal friendly over here, but
Do you have him with you as much as possible?
yeah, we both have separation anxiety issues. We're away from each other. Yeah, no, he's my buddy. He's been through life with me. He's just a companion. You know, I don't have close family by or anything like that. So he's kind of my emotional support.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, creatures, and I also have a cat. You know.
You do?
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
I know people are like, "Where's Winter's portrait?" And I'm like,
Well, sit still.
yeah. I'm like, oh, I'll work on one. I'll make one. But yeah, I mean, there's just, I don't know, I'm an animal person, for sure.
Yeah.
Clearly, you know, so kind of having one following you around is, so.
Unconditional.
Now, what about this snake?
What about this thing?
Is that yeah, so it's a different.
I was experimenting with like I was saying, like different textures and color combinations. Scales seem like a fun one to do. I did an alligator also, but it's a little bit of a different texture. And I don't know, snakes are just kind of cool, no?
Definitely.
Like, I don't know.
I have worked with snakes, and they all have their own personality.
Clip it.
Oh yeah.
I had this albino king snake. It was 19, and every time I'd feed her, she'd bite my finger.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, and they're like, well, maybe she's blind, and I'm like, I think she's clean.
She's just letting you know.
My friend had a pythons. I guess pythons are very popular as far as pets go. His name was Capone, and he was so sweet. I love creatures. Like I don't eat them. I love them.
Oh, you're a vegetarian?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm like, it just fascinate me. They're just
Yeah.
creatures, you know. I don't know.
I have some goldfish I'll commission. I might commission.
Ooh,
I'll get a
could be
picture so
something.
you don't know.
I just heard Jane Goodall on a podcast not too long ago, and her compassion for animals is, obviously historic. But just listening to her, okay, first of all, you gotta recommend this podcast. It's fucking amazing. It's the Armchair Expert podcast with Dax Shepard. It's a good podcast. But the reason why I love it is because she is not shy about talking about sex. And it is fucking hilarious. When she describes the mating rituals of the gorillas, and
It's biology in her mind.
it's biology. Yeah, so she's not shy about it, and the things that the gorillas do are the things that the gorillas do. But she, as a vegetarian, as an animal lover, I feel like it's somebody who just kind of stands for that. She'd be a great person to do a portrait of. Huh?
I suppose.
I would love to.
Are you still painting?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So when I got into graduate school, I had so many paintings that I moved from Portland to San Diego to Santa Cruz, and then eventually I just started giving them away because it was like, as a graduate student, I had to live with other graduate students.
Take
So
some space.
what I ended up doing is I would do painting, like I did this one whole series where I had a large canvas that I would paint, and then I would paint on a figure and photograph them in front of that painting. And then that would be the work. And then I would paint over that painting.
Oh, like you were using like backgrounds?
Yes, the painting would be like background.
Yeah.
And so I just found other ways to use paint in digital work. But I started to move into digital and to bring the different media together. So I still use paint, but it's more rare at this point.
Oh, okay.
But it's about to make a little comeback.
Oh,
Maybe
that's
some
a
abstract
teaser.
painting?
Yeah, we should do something.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, we should do something. Because I
I'll be
also
the one in front of them.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
like, you
I
can start
love-
with the background. 'Cause
Oh, yeah,
you're
'cause I'm
comfortable.
great at it,
You're
apparently.
comfortable with that.
I love collaborating with other painters. It's so fun. Like when I did that with my high school art teacher, it's amazing because we did this other one, that big canvas, but we did a whole series of small paintings that we painted on both sides because they hung in the window, and so the light came through. You could see it from both sides. Really fun. Cool. Like you're working on the painting, they're working on the painting, and then you switch, and you're like, oh shit, there's all this work done. It feels so good. You're like, oh, and then you add to it, and then oh, there's new work on it. It just feels fun. I would love to do that sometime if you ever want.
Wow, I was gonna say I've never done something like that.
But that's not necessarily true because that's how Monterey is
Well,
murals.
right. Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Which was brought up in our artist spotlight with the mural hunter in Monterey County.
Oh, really?
And she talked about you guys in particular because most muralists that she studies, and she has a course coming out on murals in Monterey County, that you're going to be in. I'm registered for it.
Oh.
You don't know you're a panelist yet? No.
Yeah, no. Okay.
But that most muralists, especially in like the we create, it's one muralist is on one side and another muralist is on the other, and they then work to blend it in the middle. Versus you guys, who everybody is
Touching everything.
yeah.
Yeah, that is true. I was gonna say I've never done that, but then I'm like, oh, you have a mirror. But even then, I've heard of like passing the thing back and forth until it's, and I'm like, anxiety.
Right?
Like you know what I'm missing?
Let it
Somebody
go.
else's.
That's why it's so liberating though, because you will.
You know, but people say that, and then you end up hating it, and then I don't know. Maybe it's all my head. It's all in my head. It's fine. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Let's see what happens.
It'd be fun. It'd be a fun experience.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things about the La Neta mural that he did for We Create was that it was on 3 different surfaces.
Oh yeah, you know
It
this.
had like corrugated metal and like all 5 of you were on all the surfaces. It's really one of the most amazing pieces from this.
It's I'm not gonna like it took me a while to figure out how.
Sand City CA, Sand City Art Park, SC,
Art Spark.
Art Spark. The Night Market 831.
Oh my god.
So much happening in Sand City.
Yeah, it's just blowing up.
See, I wanted to ask you, what are some of your peak art experiences, not as a practitioner, but as a viewer?
Give me an example.
Okay.
I have
Use
one-
it in a sentence.
I have one that you actually inspired me to remember.
Okay, let's go with that one.
Yeah, this is
Well, you recently brought up William Blake, and I had forgotten that when I recently turned to my alma mater, they opened the Rare Books Library and came out with a full like gold leaf William Blake illustrated tome, and we got to sheet, obviously, delicately flip through it for all of us, but it was just like mind-blowing. And then the whole side was its own illustration, right? So when it's closed, there's illustration all along the edges of the pages, and then the whole thing is illustrated as well. It's really cool.
Do you know Blake? See? Oh,
Do I know Blake?
William Blake?
He's long dead, but
Genius, like, not very well known during his time.
Okay.
He illustrated books for more famous artists. Mary Wollstonecraft.
I'm like, I have to see sight. And the thing about it is that names, and I'm like, I'm late to the game, but if I see something, I'll remember it,
Well, yeah, William Blake is a great one to dig into to know. He illustrated the plays for a book by Mary Wollstonecraft, who was the mother of the woman who wrote Frankenstein, Mary Shelley. She wrote The Vindication of the Rights of Women. She's one of the first feminists. And Blake illustrated her plays because she was kind of a radical, famous artist. Her father was a very famous philosopher. But anyways, Blake, great person for you to know. See, I think that
I was gonna say this looks just
Dude.
like the dramatic shit that I was talking
you're
about.
gonna fucking love Blake.
I'm like,
100%.
damn, that is
That's
fun.
your jam.
That is down my
100%.
Well, thank you for that one. Yeah.
what's an art experience
That I remember. It depends. I mean, I feel like I experience it every day at the shop.
Oh,
There you go.
there you
Just
go.
like I mean, when you are in the heart of where things are being created constantly,
That's the best.
like, I mean, and not because the people that I know are my friends, and just the things they come up with, like their brains just it continue to amaze me all the time. That's why I'm like, I'm having like a hard time thinking of like just like a.
That's a great answer. But okay, let me give you another example.
Yeah.
Last podcast we talked about this book by John Berger, and it was funny. It's interesting because it's this book that came out of this television series called Ways of Seeing. Great work, right? But he has this one. We were talking about how the context informs the way you look at a work, and so there's this page in that book where it's a Van Gogh painting of a wheat field, a cornfield with some crows, and not a great painting, and it's just a little black and white representation of the clothes. Not great, right? But you turn the page and it says, well, this is the last painting he did before he killed himself. And then you look back and you go, oh my God, that painting is fucking heavy, right? All of a sudden you see it as like this suicide note, this last, right? So it changes everything. But then it turns out that wasn't his last painting, right? So he continued to paint after that. He didn't successfully kill himself first, and then he lived in the institution and painted still lives. His last painting is actually of tree roots, right? But so even more how the context, even if it's wrong, it still changes the way you look at it, right?
Yeah.
But so it's, for me, I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about how when I went to London when I was 19, and I got to go to Amsterdam. And so we went there, and I went off on my own this one morning and went to a cafe, ate some space cake, took a few bong hits, and went to the Van Gogh Museum.
Oh,
I like
that
there's
sounds
a
like
theme
fun.
in his adventures. There's a running theme.
I'm a stoner.
I mean,
We're also sponsored by Big Pete's.
It's only stoners allowed for me,
No, I mean,
except for this guy. But as soon as, so I went into this building, right, and it's this house that has like hundreds of his paintings, and I was very, very stoned. I was in Amsterdam, which is a wild, cool city, right? So very heightened experience. But the paintings were vibrating off the wall, and it was like you could sense the spirit of the man in the room. And so for me, fuck the John Berger died. It was the whole life's work that to me was so impressive because you were in this room where I was like, this man really fucking cared about painting. That's one thing I know for sure, and his spirit lives on in that work. But that's why what you said, where you're actually in the moment of creation, that's where you really see the spirit going into the work. So that is, to me, the best art experience. But besides that, I'm curious, like, what other types of, just.
I was gonna say the last thing that, well, not the last. I can't hide.
Because you've done podcasts
All day.
Yeah.
all day.
All day. Yeah. I mean,
It's been here
Good for
since.
being so.
It's okay though if you don't have a good example right now, because maybe we'll come up with one.
have you gone to the? I mean, yeah, maybe I'll think about it. But have you gone to the Van Gogh exhibit, the moving one?
Okay, no, so that's where I wanted to go next, because since I had that experience at the actual Van Gogh Museum,
Someone capitalized on your experience right there.
boom, but to me that looks so fucking phony, right? Because the shit was coming off the walls, but I don't want it to really be coming off the walls.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like in a fake way. I want the drugs to do it.
Are you sure it wasn't the shrooms?
No, because they
Not
have
the
this.
main answer. I want to say though that I think that you made the most out of your education.
Oh, I did.
I think that I agree with you because you have seen their original pieces, but I like that the Van Gogh exhibit is bringing fine art to people who otherwise would never have thought
Yeah.
to.
That's true.
And I think that projection mapping and full immersion art is the way, period. So I mean, it's the more that it highlights that, it's a good thing too. But no, I don't think a projection of Van Gogh is going to be the same as the real thing on
I mean,
mushrooms
honestly,
in Amsterdam. But
what you just said made me want to go to it way more than anything else.
Well, because I say that because I saw it in San
Yeah.
Francisco, and I was when you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, I was there.
So
but I wasn't.
That was what that experience was kind of trying to do.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That was like, oh yeah, I can completely imagine that.
Because whoever made that probably had that
How they,
experience
yeah.
at the Van Gogh Museum.
I mean, yeah, his.
that wasn't you, bro.
No, I don't want to do that.
You're making a lot of money.
So I'm trying to make other things, but I want to make one too. But that's not the main thing.
I'm sorry, am I making too much noise?
No, talk to me.
Oh.
But so you did see it.
Yeah, I saw
It
it.
was cool.
It was not the. It was yeah. I mean, of course, it's an experience. It was during. I hear it's in the bigger cities. You have to stay in a circle the whole time you're there, type thing. Like you can move to another circle, but the whole point of the experience is that you get to walk into a room and it's being everywhere, right? The floor, everywhere. And I know that in San Francisco they allow you to do that. A lot of people are doing that. But in San Francisco and LA, you have to stay in like circles, and so it wasn't as it was intended to be experienced. I'll say that. But it was, it was a cool Sunday morning thing to do. Go to the city, watch a little Van Gogh ditty, and
Did it make you want to paint?
it made me want to take drugs.
Okay.
I was like, oh, I wish I was tripping right now.
Yeah.
It would have been a little more intense, probably, but not more intense. Just because you were not moving, so I don't know. It was
It was lacking.
It was
Underwhelming.
it was underwhelming. It was underwhelming in that sense. But I mean, the music and the way they did the effects, there's definitely some emotion being pulled out of you at some point,
Okay, but so now I maybe need to go experience it just so that I'll know.
Oh, I mean, it's not gonna live up to your expectations.
But see, I don't
Now,
have any expectations for it because I expect it to be
awful.
horrible.
So you do
okay,
have
so
expectations, they're just low.
Very low.
Okay, well,
It can't.
Well, then if you're not
it can't be worse than
It can't
others.
fail at what I.
right, then yeah, it's not gonna
Because
surpass what you already experienced. So
Basically, what I'm imagining it is like the equivalent of an art roller coaster.
But isn't that what people want right now? Nice instant gratification.
They just don't want to do any work. They want to just be brought through the experience safely and scarily, but without them having to do much. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a ride. But
It's an art
It's
ride.
a ride. It's a ride.
It's like a ride,
I'll say
right?
that. It's a ride.
Well, it's meant to be entertainment.
Right.
But that's the only thing. For me, when I see art experiences make me want to make art. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. So like when I saw that Van Gogh exhibit, I was like, want to paint immediately.
I mean, it definitely made me made me pay attention and be like, his type. I finally understood impressionism. I feel like.
Yeah.
Now that you're a painter.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, and being there, I got a new appreciation for Van Gogh that I didn't have before. I guess there's just so much sadness that I relate to. I'm like, oh, these pictures are really sad, and they're big and right in your face, and they're moving and they're burning and they're doing things. And you're like, but I don't know. Now I'm like, go check it out. Actually, go check it out, and then report back.
I will.
But how do you usually check out exhibits?
This episode was brought to you by Big Pete's,
Right.
Delicious.
Johnny
things.
Wicks.
Use responsibly.
Unless you're-
Candles are dangerous too.
Yeah, and Johnny Wicks at Local Lit. Alright. Sorry.
Wow.
Just working on the plugs here.
I know.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
What other plugs? Just do
Well,
the
those
plugs.
were those that I brought to
What
you.
about for you though? Where can people find you?
Oh, Instagram, my art handle is, my IG handle is Art de Sevilla. And yeah, mostly just on Instagram.
She works in the shop.
Yeah.
If an art collector wanted to buy a piece from you, how would they go about that?
They can I have an email, artdesevilla@gmail.com. So you can email me or most of my stuff is at the shop.
Okay.
So, and I'm usually there. So
People can contact you through the shop,
yeah.
through your Instagram, and through your email.
Yeah.
What about, how can they see more of your work?
Yeah, but we have something. We have to set up something.
So contact you for
Yeah.
a private shot.
Yeah.
She needs a website and a blog.
She needs a
I need-
website and a blog.
I
Maybe.
wasn't trying to say that. But I was kind of saying.
No, I used to have a website, but COVID and then all that stuff happened, so
Yeah.
I had to take a break from the website. But I was supposed to come back at some point. It'd be nice to have it back. And then most of the work, I had to. I'm at the shop, but I would have to set a viewing situation because all my stuff is put away, and then we all use that space.
Yeah.
So I don't think we talked about it on the air, but the trading post is sort of the first thing that you walk into in a normal shop hours. And about once a month, you try to switch everything out so that you get a good representation of the artists that are there and that you can support and invest in.
Yeah.
Because if this is your first attempt at painting, then I can only imagine.
Thank you. But I mean, yeah.
And people get in on the ground floor now,
That's right.
and then when you start doing abstracts, they'll be like, "Shoot, I give her when she spent 4
When
hours
she was
on
making
this
sand."
one jewel."
Let me just put this out there just as a baseline little info idea for collectors out there. There are collectors who, it's a very smart thing to do, buy the entire body of work of a young artist, right? So I would see this as being a really smart move for a collector. Buy all of C's work.
Yes, do that.
Everything.
The
that
whole
she's
animal
doing.
kingdom that's left, except for the
Yeah.
If you can afford it, that's going to be a good investment because she, first of all, has a mural that's going to be taught, so she's part of art history already of the region. Her work is going to continue, and so not only would you be helping an artist to have a solid foundation for their future work, but you'd be making a really smart investment.
And to go back a little further into that mural course, that's with Kat Morgan, and she's doing it through CSUMB through the extended learning program So anybody can take the course because it's through their extended learning center. So I've signed up already. It's 3 courses right now, 3 classes on Wednesdays in November, and she's going to talk about the history of Monterey County murals and muraling in general. And she's located over 400 local murals already.
So impressive.
She just moved here before COVID.
Yeah.
And she
That was like her hobby. You just
sounds like her hobby. Now she's a mural hunter.
Yeah.
And she's taking a course on the influence.
Very cool.
So yeah, she documents a lot of the Sand City festivals. You can follow her at Murals of Monterey County.
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think that is a good place to wrap things up. Aaron, do you want to?
What are your plugs?
Yeah. Where can people find out what you're up to?
I don't do anything. No, I think we can plug in. Just fine.
I think we're plugged in, you guys.
Plugged in. Are you becoming Shakespeare and
Well, I haven't even really talked about that.
.h.
We got plenty of time for that. But so wrapping things up, just wanted to thank Big Pete's for sponsoring today's show.
Thanks,
Got
Big
some
Pete.
great cookies here, and
Old school butter infused deliciousness.
yes, they are delicious things on a wilderness walking.
Spirit.
They will bring you visions, and it's worth it. So, but hey, come on down here to Locally Lit.
They have open hours where you can just come on in and like make candles, or you can make reservations if you want to do parties.
Yeah, Wednesday through Sunday.
Where
11
I
to
got-
7. Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday.
I know we already have a holiday party booked here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so and they actually have the weekend of Halloween. They're having a whole 3-day candle workshop situation, I believe.
Fun.
It's a great gift idea if you want to do something special for somebody.
Yeah, got like built-in gifts here
Yeah,
too. So not only is it fun, but you leave with like something that.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for inviting me to your podcast. That's a lot of fun.
Thank
For
you.
coming. See, it was nice.
Superstar, rock star, Sea Sevilla, Art de Sevilla.
Make sure to follow and like and comment and share and see us again next week.
But we also have to give a shout out to our engineer,
Oh yeah.
Joey Martin.
Moss Arte Network,
Oh yeah.
holding it down.
Man
doing
behind
good
the
work.
keyboard.
And look for the photo of Sin's dog, the newest of the new in the chapter out there. Check it out and show you the photos.
Party now.
It's time.
Alright guys, till next time, this has been E and J Branding. This is Jay,
This is E. See you next week.
signing out.